Yeah, well, each week at this time we talk to the New York Post columnist Miranda Devine. Yesterday, the House of Representatives convened in Washington for its final three-week session before the elections in November. Nancy Pelosi, along with other Democrats, are desperate to pass another massive rescue package to offset the economic pain caused by coronavirus. The Republicans are not budging due to the cost of it, and instead they want to pass smaller portions of help. Vulnerable Democrats in swing districts are worried that if no big rescue package is passed, they're hurting their chances of re-election. In other words, buying votes. Principles out the window. Sounds familiar? Happens here too, doesn't it? Miranda joins us from America to discuss the latest. Miranda, the Trump rally. No doubt the Democrats are nervous.
Yes, of course they are. And you can tell by their sort of nefarious activities, such as, for instance, Joe Biden has just announced that he's hired a whole slew of lawyers for a so-called litigation team to contest the results of the election. So doesn't matter what the result is, and, you know, increasingly, if the trajectory of the polls continues for the next 7 weeks, that will be, of course, Donald Trump relatively easily, not in terms of the popular vote, but certainly in terms of the Electoral College, which is what counts. So we're just going to see A, litigation, and B, a continuation and exacerbation of the riots that we've been seeing all through summer.
It was interesting to note at the weekend, wasn't it, that Trump's campaign spokesman said, because they were complaining about him holding big rallies, and he said, and the spokesman said, if you can join tens of thousands of people protesting in the streets, gamble in a casino or burn down small businesses in riots, you can gather peacefully under the First Amendment to hear from the President of the United States. It's not a bad point, is it?
Exactly. And they're so embarrassed, the Democrats, because Joe Biden goes and does these anaemic sort of events when he ever gets out of his basement, which isn't often. And there's no one there. You might have maybe 30 people who've been dragooned in to listlessly wave a flag. Whereas when Donald Trump shows up to one of his outdoor hangar rallies, airport hangar rallies, he is mobbed. You know, you've got 20,000, 30,000 people, very enthusiastic. The enthusiasm factor is a real telltale sign.
Yeah. Miranda, Florida, for example, is a key seat. Now, I note the lead there has narrowed by more than 5 points in the last month to 1.2 points. Now the Biden team say, we're going to visit the state in an attempt to slow the swing towards Trump. Trump has the momentum, doesn't he? I see Sportsbet have got Trump now at $2 and Biden at $1.80.
Yes, and look, one of the best sort of private pollsters who I talk to quite often, who mainly consults to hedge funds, is putting Trump on at 60% likelihood of winning, which is completely at odds with what the main polls are saying. He says that, you know, Florida, the Biden team on the ground, they have no presence. They've pretty much given up. You see by the fact that Biden has actually, when he's emerged from his Delaware basement, has gone to Pennsylvania 2 or 3 times, that they're putting a lot of stock in that. He says that he was born there in working class Scranton. He's a boy of Pennsylvania, but Donald Trump isn't going to give up Pennsylvania. It's a very important state with a lot of Electoral College votes. So he also has been there a couple of times, going there again soon. And he's, you know, the polls there, my pollster is telling me if Trump wins Pennsylvania, at the moment it's in the balance, but if he wins it, the night is over pretty soon.
Just a quick one before we go. 2 police officers, dreadful story in Los Angeles, ambushed. They were just sitting in their patrol car, both shot in the head. One was a 31-year-old woman who's now apparently critical, the other a 24-year-old man. They're both recovering in hospital. I mean, God knows if they'll survive. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department has announced a $100,000 reward for information, but this is the thing, Black Lives Matter protesters blocking the entrance to the emergency room at the hospital where the 2 officers were being treated and shouting anti-police slogans.
Well, yes, calling them pigs, oink, oink, and saying, we hope they die. This is so corrosive, so disgusting. And it's all the result of this BLM pandering, this Marxist anti-family group, which is the worst curse for, Black American families, which, remember, 4 years ago was talking about pigs in a blanket, fry like bacon, when 2 police officers were shot in Dallas, assassinated, just like this case, an execution and assassination.
Humanity?
It is the...
Humanity doesn't sink any lower than this, does it, Miranda? Doesn't sink any lower than this. Thank you for your time.
And it's inevitable.
Always
Thanks,
good to talk to you. Thank you. There she is.
You too.
Miranda Devine. We'll talk to her again next week.